J.D. Vance is the kind of extremist on most issues that we care about that if you don't give him an exact quote, one would think that his political opponents are exaggerating what he said. So I'm going to read to you exactly what J.D. Vance said. He said, "This is one of the great tricks that I think the sexual revolution pulled on the American populace." Let me pull this up so you can see it with your own eyes, man. Because again, I don't want y'all to think that I'm exaggerating. I want you to really see what this crazy, crazy idea is that he's put forward, right? I'm going to put this up for you. He says, look at this. He says, "This is one of the great tricks that I think the sexual revolution pulled on the American populace, which is the idea that, like, well, okay, these marriages were fundamentally, they were maybe even violent, but certainly they were unhappy. And so getting rid of them and making it easier for people to shift spouses like they change their underwear, that's going to make people happier in the long term." So he's criticizing, right? He's framing the argument as people are unhappy. Yeah, sometimes the marriage might even be violent, right? But we make it easy for people to get out of those marriages. He said, and maybe it worked for the moms and dads, though I'm skeptical, but it really didn't work out for the kids of those marriages. And that's what I think all of us should be honest about. We've run this experiment in real time, and what we have is a lot of very, very real family dysfunction that's making our kids unhappy. So J.D. Vance, y'all's vice presidential hopeful, is saying that people should stay in the marriages even if it makes them happier to leave the marriage. People should stay in the marriage even if the marriage is violent. Why? Because it's good for the kids. Now, first of all, it's absolutely unreasonable and maybe even cruel to tell people to just stay unhappy in their relationships because it makes the kids happy. It's also problematic when he says he questions whether people are really happier when they leave unhealthy marriages. What the hell are you talking about? Yes, people are happier when they leave unhealthy marriages. But then this idea of the violence, you're saying that if someone's in a domestic violence filled marriage, that maybe they should stay too. And to call that changing spouses like underwear, to be so cavalier and dismissive and cruel about somebody who makes a decision to leave a marriage where there is violence. It's absurd, J.D. Vance. It's cruel, J.D. Vance. You are wrong, J.D. Vance. And to say somehow also, finally, that children are better off when the parents stay together. You don't know, J.D. Vance, what it's like then to grow up in a household where parents are unhappy. Because when kids are in a household where the parents are unhappy, the kids are unhappy. When the kids grow up in a household where there's domestic violence, the kids are also the victims of domestic violence. And the type of trauma that they have to endure, the type of violence that they have to witness, you have no idea, J.D. Vance. So how dare you tell people that they should somehow stay, or that there's some character flaw or moral failure or lack of fortitude or commitment because they don't want to stay in an unhealthy marriage. Stop it, J.D. Vance. But this is the type of extremism that y'all might be witnessing in the White House, that you will be witnessing in the White House if you vote for J.D. Vance. That's all I'm going to say. And if you vote for Donald Trump, that's all I'm going to say. And when you vote for one, you're voting for the other. But that's not the only thing. J.D. Vance has also expressed extremist views on abortion. Now, we know that many people on the right and some on the left are pro-life. Some support abortion under only very select few circumstances. One of those circumstances, of course, being incest, etc. Well, JD Vance is one of those people who doesn't seem, based on his past record and based on his website, which he scrubbed today, he's one of those people who seems to not believe in it at all under any circumstance. I want to bring up his website right now. This is the thing about politics. You can try to hide your past. You can try to make the world forget that you said something. You can try, but there's just too many records. There's too much evidence. And here is an example of what I'm talking about. JD Vance tried to scrub his website, but we found the archive. So here's first is the video that he gave.
Because so much of what we're trying to do here is create not just a legal right to life, but a culture of life. I grew up in a family without a whole lot of money. I saw a lot of my friends and even family members choose abortion over life, because so much of what happens is that we pressure our young women and young men to see babies as inconveniences to be discarded instead of new life to celebrate and to cherish. That is one of the things that we have to fight against. So today is the 49th anniversary of that terrible Supreme Court decision, Roe versus Wade. On the 50th anniversary of Roe versus Wade, I'll be here if you'll have me, and I think we'll be marching in a world where Roe versus Wade has been overturned.
So he very prescient, right? He said, we're going to live in a world where Roe v. Wade is overturned. He was fighting to overturn Roe v. Wade. Now, again, there are people who don't support abortion, who believe that it's wrong, but who still have at least a reasonable belief that, maybe women should be able to have abortions if they've been molested, if they're the product of incest, if they're the product of rape, if they are the victims of rape, the product of incest being the baby, I was saying. So in other words, a woman shouldn't be forced to carry her father's baby. A little girl shouldn't be forced to carry her father's baby. A woman shouldn't be forced to birth her rapist's baby. These are fairly reasonable positions to take, even if you don't support abortion. Nobody's 100% pro-abortion, maybe 90, maybe 95, but 100 is an extremist position. Well, turns out JD Vance, Trump's vice presidential choice, has an extremist position. Up until yesterday, this is Wednesday, July 17th, 2024. Up until yesterday, JD Vance had this on his website. Now, I don't know if you can see this or not. Let's see. Can you see it now? It says, I am 100% pro-life. He didn't say 90%. He didn't say 95%. He said, I am 100%. Remember, this is from the JD Vance website until yesterday. But again, we got ways of finding it. He said, I am 100% pro-life and believe that abortion has turned our society into a place where we see children as an inconvenience to be thrown away rather than a blessing to be nurtured. But if you are 100% pro-life and you believe in pro-life or fighting abortion, really, because they ain't really pro-life. They don't care about babies after they're born. But if you're 100% pro-life and you're saying that the babies are blessings to be nurtured, then you're saying that the person who is molested and the victim of incest and the victim of rape, they are all throwing away their blessings. That there's a blessing in that they need to nurture, and instead they're throwing away. If you're 100% pro-life or 100% anti-abortion, to be more accurate, JD Vance, and you're saying that the young girl should view carrying her brother or father or uncle's baby as a blessing to be nurtured. How dare you? And to call that protecting the unborn, look, your whole point about expanding adoption, promoting pregnancy centers, encouraging people to not make hasty decisions, coming up with support for mothers, all of that is fine. That ain't the issue. Let's be very clear. That is not the issue. It's the idea that you explicitly said that you're 100%, and people say, "Oh, well, you're reading too much into it." Am I? Because JD Vance took it down off his website sometime between yesterday and today. It's been there all that time. He's been saying 100% pro-abortion or pro-life, whatever, forever. But now he knows that the limelight is on him. He knows he's in the spotlight, and he doesn't want to get outed for the crazy extremist that he is on this issue. They always want you to believe the left are the crazy extremists and the radicals. He's the one who's taking an extremist position. But what he wants to do, of course, is throw the rock and hide his hands. His base knows that he has the extremist position. They're going to vote for him because of his extremist the extremist position is what JD Vance is taking. Let's just leave it there. He's the one taking an extremist position. And his base knows it. So even when he makes a public pivot or scrubs his page, they know what they're getting, but they're hoping that the middle, the uncertain folk, won't realize what he's actually asking for. So that's why we're here, to make sure that people know.